Good afternoon. We're back with more Marvel Champions, and today will be a hero spotlight for Vision. Vision is an interesting hero. We're spotlighting an aggression Vision deck. This is an S plus tier deck, and if you are familiar with Bring It and with Vision in general, that probably doesn't come as a surprise. If you are not familiar with Vision or with Bring It, then that may come as quite a shock, because if you play Vision without Bring It in your deck, you will find him fairly mediocre and underwhelming, and may even struggle to beat the most basic Heroic 1 content. But with Bring It, he's elite. So here's how the deck works. Vision's got two forms, mass form and intangible form. And intangible form, let's take a look at that. Here is Vision's intangible form. He cannot attack or defend, but reduce the amount of damage Vision takes from each attack by 2, which means he is functionally immune to most minions while he is in this form. They can attack him every round for 2 and do nothing. Occasionally you'll have a minion that does 3 damage, but that is not common. Most do 2 or less. Then we have Vision's nemesis, which is Ultron. And Ultron brings drones into play engaged with you, much as his scenario version does. His villain version brings drones engaged with us into play each time he attacks. And he also has this Ultron Unleashed, which brings a drone into play, and Relentless Android, which brings 2 drones into play. These drones are incapable of damaging Ultron because they only attack for 1. They're incapable of damaging Ultron while he's in intangible form, which means they can build up and build up and build up, and it does not matter because they cannot damage Vision as long as he stays in intangible form. And then we have the card Bring It, coming to us from the Drax Hero Pack. Max 1 per phase, draw 1 card for each minion engaged with you. Well, if you just allow the Ultron drones to build up and don't do anything about them, and then you use Bring It, you can easily be drawing 13 or 14 cards. Which means that the strategy for the deck is simply to tread water until Shadows of the Past comes out, then allow the drones to build up, and then use Bring It to draw 1,000,000 cards, and then down the boss. And this strategy works at such a high level that Vision is an S plus tier hero, meaning he is capable of taking on any scenario in the game. Sometimes not with a very high win rate. If he has to rely on Shadows of the Past in order to win, you really need it to come out within the first 10 cards or so, if it's a really difficult scenario. And that's only going to happen maybe 1 in 5 times or a little less. But when it does, Vision's capable of taking on any scenario in the game, even something as difficult as like a Heroic 1 Ronan the Accuser. So all of the minions in the deck are low cost 1 or 2, with the exception of Hercules, which cost reduced by 1 for each minion. That can be free easily with the Ultron drones. Then we also have Thor for emergency board clear if we should need it. Also running First Aid to heal any incidental damage the Vision should acquire while we're treading water, and Reboot with a similar purpose. So the first scenario we're going to look at, we'll look at more scenarios in future videos, namely at least Venom Goblin on Expert and Magneto on Expert. But the first one we're going to look at is Ronan on Expert difficulty with this Aggression Vision deck. So let's dive in and see how the deck works. So here we go. We got Vision versus Ronan the Accuser on Expert difficulty. Ronan being the hardest boss in the game. And we're not really looking to keep anything except for minions, and we can keep endurance because we'll be looking for Bring It later, but right now we're just looking to tread water. So we get out Sunfire, which can discard the universal weapon. That's a very good start. Thwart with Vision for 3 thanks to the Power Stone. And I'm thinking about whether I want to use the Milano to play Vivian or whether I want to just play Endurance. And I don't know why I discarded Vivian there. That was a mistake. I should have discarded Vivian. Oh no, I needed a resource for Sunfire. That's why. Okay, that makes sense. So I used the Milano to generate that resource, and then I used Vivian to pay for Endurance. So Sunfire is going to tank the attack here. 2 boost cards thanks to Ronan the Accuser's text because we currently control the Power Stone. So lots of boost cards coming through there. Takes out Sunfire. Then we got 2 encounter cards. Kree Private, which quick strikes for 0 damage because Vision can't be damaged by any minion or any character with less than 3 attack. So get out Marvel Boy. We do need to clear the Kree Commando or we're not going to be able to reduce threat. So we can't ignore that guy. Gonna play Hickory Branch Lane, not usually a card I would play, but as opposed to doing nothing, I'll do it. And the Milano is not a thwart, so the patrol doesn't stop it. Patrol says you cannot thwart the main scheme, but Milano's response is not labeled as a thwart, so it can still happen. So we got 2 threat incoming. We got an attack, which will go on Marvel Boy. That's the purpose of all of these allies, is simply to block. And they may do a little bit of damage before blocking or a little bit of thwart occasionally, but really their only purpose is to block. So we got an early Fanaticism, that's not good. Superior Tactics, which is going to give Ronan the Power Stone. And Kree Physiology for a toughness, so no Shadows of the Past yet. And we're going to cancel the gang up with Milano and Density Control. So, checking, we've had 10 encounter cards come through. No Shadows of the Past yet. If it doesn't come soon, we may be in trouble. And may have to reset. So the win rate of Vision against Ronan is going to be, I think, less than like Star-Lord's. Not a lot less, because Star-Lord doesn't win more than, I don't know, 30 to 40% of the time. But Vision's is probably going to be like 1 in 5 or so. So I still can't remove threat unless I use the Milano. We've got the Fanaticism attack, and there's Shadows of the Past. So it's out fairly early. We're probably going to do just fine here now, as the Vision Ultron tag team will be able to take down Ronan. I doubt that the developers had this strategy in mind when they made Vision and Drax, because it turns Ultron into an ally. And that probably isn't what they intended, but it's not. I don't consider it my role to judge based on theming or based on what's intended, just to bring to light powerful decks, and you, the viewer, can decide what you want to do with them. So get out the Solar Gem and heal for a little bit. Use the Milano to keep the main scheme under control, and will thwart Ultron Unleashed. Gonna have to take out the Kree Lieutenant before we can do any damage to Ronan. Gonna have to take out the Kree Commando before we can thwart the main scheme. And Vision's gonna take this attack to the face, but he would anyway because of Fanaticism. So there goes Fanaticism, more damage on Vision. None of those minions do any damage. The Ultron attack does bring in another drone. And then we've got Special Delivery that'll get canceled by the Milano. Single-Minded Fury, which is a surge because I don't have the Power Stone. And Kree Physiology, which is a surge. Another Fanaticism, that's not great news. Rogue Vessel's not great news. And an Advance, well, he's currently confused, so. that isn't going to do anything. So here we go. We got to bring it. We can draw 6 cards currently. That's going to get even more. The only thing that can really cause us to lose is if a couple of the bring its go face down as Ultron drones. But with 6 minions on the table, Hercules is free. And we'll get rid of the side scheme. Play Angela, which means looking at the top 10 cards of the encounter deck. And there's not a single minion there, which means Angela's just going to get discarded. You know, density control for first aid. We'll probably want to play just passing through here. Get out Nick Fury. There's going to be a lot going on in these turns. So initially I thought I'd do 5 to the Kree Lieutenant, but then I reconsider and take out the Kree Commando so I can just thwart normally. Yeah, now I reconsider. Just going to take out the Kree Commando. And now I reconsider the reboot, and I'm just going to use Machine Man. Attack for 2 with that extra discard. And take out the Patrol. But if I don't thwart on the main scheme, then it's going to advance it, and I don't really want that. So I may actually use Hercules to thwart for 1 here. Yeah. I don't think that was really the ideal way to do it. I think I was more on the right track with the reboot. But, oh well. I may have forgotten a rogue vessel last round, I'm not sure. So this attack should go on Nick Fury. It's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 2 of that should go on Nick Fury. So Vision should be +2. I don't know if I ever realized that. And then like -1 for Rogue Vessel, I think. Although I'm not sure that I did forget that. In any case, I have the reboot, the first aid. There's a lot of little things going on when you play this deck, and I haven't drawn another Bring It yet. Once I do, the board's going to be so built up that I'll probably be just redrawing a Bring It every round. Now here I figured out Nick Fury took the attack and then mark off the rogue vessel. And we're going to thwart. Play Ironheart. And use reboot to ready and thwart again. And heal 1 damage. Just trying to make sure the scheme doesn't advance. Get 3 on the Kree Lieutenant. Well, you could make a case that some of those should be used to thwart. Yeah, there we go. Then we'll draw 5. There's a lot going on here, and it's a very different style than usual because this is not a typical deck at all. So Ronan's going to attack. He's got his Fanaticism, and that nearly kills Vision. Though if I was any lower in HP, I could have had Hercules tank 2 of that damage. Creep Private with Quick Strike, which doesn't do anything, and then we will cancel the advance with the Milano. There's going to be small mistakes in this one. I do not think I played perfectly by any stretch. Hopefully the play was of sufficient quality to demonstrate the power of the deck in any case. So let's go ahead and I think use Solar Beam here for 5 threat reduction. Just get rid of the pincher maneuver and then thwart for 2 on the main scheme and hopefully draw a Bring It as soon as possible. I'm suspecting at this point that one of the Bring It's is a face down drone. So I should have 2 in the deck. As long as I don't get 2 as face down drones, it's fine. Even with just 1 Bring It left in the deck still functions, though it can lead to some long games that are tenuous. But if you got 2, if you lose 1 Bring It to the drones, that's fine. If you lose 2, you're in trouble. 3, you're going to lose for sure. So we get more drones. Get another attack, which we're going to cancel with the Milano. And I should really think about canceling the Rogue Vessel. Could have done that earlier and it wouldn't really delay anything. There's 2 Bring It's at once. Okay. I think maybe I should... Okay, there I remember the Rogue Vessel from the last turn. I thought that I'd forgotten it, so I mark it off now. And then the Rogue Vessel from this turn is going to take me down to 1, but with Bring It, we'll be fine. We'll draw like the entire deck, really. Okay, here we go. So we mark off the damage. Gonna do the damage to Blade instead of Vision. So we'll Bring It, and it's gonna be 13 cards, I think. Maybe 14. If this interaction wasn't intended, Bring It could easily have read max 3 per round. Or max 3, that would not be out of the ordinary for a card like that, but it doesn't, and so we can do this kind of broken strategy. And now it's just a matter of counting up what we've got. We're going to heal Vision up. We're going to get Ronan down to phase 3, and then eventually we're going to flip to Dense Form and start using Vision's damage cards to OTK or 2-turn kill Ronan stage 3. And these turns tend to be a little bit extended because you got to think about all of the options. Hercules is a good option, being free. We'll do that first. Probably just use Vivian to thwart for 3 and retire her. The damage aspect of Solar Beam and Super Dense Strike, you need to be in Dense Form, and we can't do that until we're ready to OTK. We're ready to get lethal. Because if we move to Dense Form, we'll die. So I'm just thinking here, not actually playing these cards. I'm just counting up the different resources that I would use to pay for damage cards to see if I have lethal damage here or not. And I don't really come anywhere close to that. So you can see I've got the 2 resources underneath Super Dense to pay for that, 3 underneath Solar Beam to pay for that, 3 underneath Solar Beam to pay for that, and I'm counting up the damage, seeing what I got left. So we want to do first aid so he doesn't die to incidental damage or from Rogue Vessel or something like that. Should probably get rid of Rogue Vessel, use some of these resources for that. We'll use Hercules for Kree Commando. We'll probably just let Blade go. Maybe not though. Use Vivian for the 6th damage. Get Nick Fury out. Maybe not in that order. Yeah, I reconsider because I may want to use Nick Fury's 4 damage and I don't want it to just get blocked by toughness. So we'll play Ironheart first and remove the toughness. And then discard her when Nick Fury comes into play. Deal the 4 damage. Deal 2 damage. Get another first aid. Reboot. Don't need to ready, we're just healing for 1. And I may just keep everything else. Ready up. Bring it next round for another everything. I think I forgot to deal an encounter card for cycling through the deck, but I remember it later, I think. Got yet another drone coming in. So you stand accused will get canceled. Kree combat armor, that'll need to be dealt with. I don't know if I did remember the other encounter card, but it wouldn't have mattered at this point. I think I do eventually remember it though. So once again, we're drawing like 14 cards. So here, I remembered the other encounter card. And that's going to be add 1 acceleration, and it's going to be master plan. So we'll need to find a side quest. Pincher maneuver, okay. Now we can bring it. I think it's like 14 cards we're drawing. And we're into the bring it cycle where we're drawing. We have 2 copies of bring it. One is clearly a drone, and we're drawing at least. We're using 1 to draw the other one each round. So we're going to be having 20 card hands from here on out, and clearly at this point that's going to result in a victory. It would be hard to lose from this point when we're first aiding and rebooting every round to deal with threat. We've got Solar Beam to deal with threat. We've got Nick Fury for damage. And then when we get in range, we're just going to have a turn where we like Solar Beam, Dense Strike for 19 damage or something and finish off the boss that way. I may have forgotten the Rogue Vessel from last round, but at this point it wouldn't matter. Small things are going to slip through the cracks when there's so much going on. Really, it doesn't really matter. I like to play optimally, but as long as I just play stuff and play the healing and don't like throw away bring it, it would be pretty impossible to lose at this point. And I guess that's all I'm going to do. I could have very easily played Thor there as well. But I think I didn't want to knock Ronan into the next phase yet. So Nick Fury's going to tank the attack. Should have 3 encounter cards again, I think. You stand accused, so that'll go on Blade. Actually, it's going to be a Fanaticism attack for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so that's 5 damage. Good thing we healed up. Did I remember the extra encounter card? I'm not sure. But I don't think there's anything that could have killed me. Maybe an extra attack. Okay, there I remembered it. And need to discard 2 strength resources or take a stun, but either way, I'm going to be able to ready up and get rid of that stun thanks to reboot. So I'm just going to draw like 15 cards. Bring It is pretty hilariously powerful in this deck. That's going to be another encounter card, but it's not going to matter because I think we're going to OTK Ronan's phase 3 here. We'll ready up with reboot and get rid of that stun, and then we'll dense strike, solar beam, use Hercules, use whatever else we need to do. Dense strike or super dense strike will go through the toughness. We just got to make sure we got enough health for the retaliate attacks. And I'm not sure if I remembered Rogue Vessel again. I may have forgotten it a couple of times. Which would mean Hercules might take more damage or even be dead, or vision would be lower, but I would have had to have forgotten it 5 times for him to be dead. That hasn't happened. And could have played differently in the past. I think I have forgotten it maybe 2 or 3 times. Hopefully I can be forgiven for that given how much is going on in this game. So that's twice I've cycled through the deck now. 2 extra encounter cards. Because I have all but 5 cards that are left in my deck in my hand. So we'll reboot, heal, get rid of that stun. And then we'll commence with the damage. Gonna use Nick Fury for the... I didn't need to do that. I could have used Super Dense Strike. I think I forgot about the piercing. There we go. Dense, draw another card. And we can just go Vivian, which is 3 damage. It's gonna retire her to retaliate. And then we have solid, or super dense for 5. Got a first aid if I needed extra healing. Super dense. Or I could have just solar beamed twice. Yeah, that's what I ended up doing. That's why I marked off just 2 extra damage, because I took back the super dense and just did solar beam. And I had an extra first aid if I needed the healing for more attacks from retaliate. With the forgetting Rogue Vessel a few times, it could possibly have delayed the game for another turn. I don't think so, though. I mean, how many times would I have to forget Rogue Vessel for it to matter? I had an additional first aid. Could have just played things a little differently, to be honest. So, would have impacted the game a little bit. And it's possible I forgot other things as well. In fact, it's probable because there was so much going on here. But the goal of this Hero Spotlight is to demonstrate what this deck can do. And that should be clear. And we got more videos coming with this deck. We're going to at least take on Venom Goblin and Magneto on Expert difficulty, and then may even try something like Ebony Maw, Heroic 1, which I struggled with Star-Lord. And maybe like Ultron on Heroic 2 or 3. This particular deck is going to do very well against the villain Ultron, because we don't even have to wait for the Nemesis in order to play Bring It. So this is a broken deck, and you can do with this information what you will. Many players would choose not to play this deck because it's not really within the theming or spirit of the deck, of the game. It's not very thematic to like team up with Ultron, basically, or to want your Nemesis to come out. Not really intended for you to draw your entire deck every round. So many of you will choose not to build or play this deck. But I'm not really about theming or anything like that. I do enjoy the theming, but what I enjoy most of all is finding decks that work and are powerful and showcasing them. And this is a deck that works and is extremely powerful. Though you still lose a lot against Ronan with this deck because you don't always get Shadow of the Past early. I'd say the win rate's still only going to be like 20%, but it is capable of defeating Ronan on Expert, and so far only 2 of the heroes I've spotlighted have been. My guess is it's only going to be 5 or less when all's said and done that can defeat Ronan on Expert. And that puts Vision in an elite category when paired with Bring It. It's possible Bring It could get errated in the future. We'll see. It's a candidate for it if they're willing to errata go for champions, because it was getting abused in multiplayer games. If people started abusing Bring It in Vision, they might errata it. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about whether you want to buy the cards to build this deck or not. But it is a unique way to play the game. It is extremely powerful and hilarious, and you can use it to take on content that you would not otherwise be able to. That's my opinion on this deck. And we'll continue to showcase it for a couple of more gameplay videos, and then do the deck analysis and buying guide. So hopefully you enjoyed in spite of the small mistakes. And if you didn't know about this deck in advance, hopefully it was entertaining to learn about it. And thank you for watching.